one of the things that makes India so special is her heartfelt vortexes, and those are the temples. So today we're going to learn about why those temples are powerful, the science behind them, experiences with them. Mohini is here with me again today, and we are going to talk about her experiences in Rameshwaram. We're going to hear about Kumbakonam, another center for temples, and I have Mike Malloy, who works for AstroVed, and Premraja, the priest. So between all of us, we'll give you a full coverage of everything there is to know from us, from the temples in India. So first, let's get started with Priest Premraj. Thank you so much for joining us today. So we know that temples have been these power spots for thousands of years, and that people have been going to them. They are an incredible source of energy in India. What is the Vedic science behind them?
Well, thank you for having me here. It's a great opportunity to share my knowledge about temples. And the name temple has many different versions or many different translations in South India especially. So names like Koil, which means the house of God, which is like a literal meaning, and it's pretty apt. But there's another word, another name, which exactly catches the source or the meaning of the concept of temple, which is alayam, which means anma yetra layate tadalayam, the place where the soul is stirred and is guided towards enlightenment is called the temple. So these temples were built based on a scripture called agamas. Agamas were words that came out of Shiva's 5 different heads on the request of Parvati, the Shakti, the goddess. So she asked him how to worship him. So he gave a complete explanation of how to live, how to worship, how to perform rituals, and everything. So while giving that, a part of his speech was temples. So he gave a very detailed explanation on where to build temples, how to build temples, who should worship, who should be there, who should be performing the rituals, who should be the sculptures, and everything. So Shiva, it is believed that Shiva picked up the spots where the temples are built now. I'm talking about the temples where Dr. Pillai takes us to, not the temples that you get to see at the roadside. These are temples that Babaji or Dr. Pillai is very much connected to, and he believes that there exactly the God resides. So these are the places. Well, if you can look at the histories, the temples withstood the worst natural calamities ever, and people always took asylum at temples. And later on, when they were there resting because of the natural calamity, they wanted to entertain themselves. And that's how the cultural activity started to happen there. Now, a temple is more like a cultural hall where just dance and music is just played. But the main reason, the main concept of temple is enlightenment and finding the reason for your birth or your life. So that was the reason. So temples were based on, so there are 28 agamas. There are various variations of temples, and there are different meanings. Let me show you one picture in which one part or one way of a temple is described. So this is based on a human body. Many saints have explained or have compared the human body to a temple. So in this is one of the agamas, and in this they mention, they have written it beautifully in a way that the foot described represents the entrance, and the pole represents the genitals, and then the garbhagraha or the sanctum sanctorum represents the head, which is the brahmarandra, which is the ultimate final chakra. And as you can see here, the human form has the 6 different chakras, all the chakras in the form of a temple. So this is one way. The other way, South Indian way, is that there is a hymn in which they mention Ullam Perum Koyil. The heart is the sanctum sanctorum. Unudambu Alayam, Vallal Piranarku, Vai Gopuravasa. The mouth represents the entrance of the temple. Here, the foot, but in another version, it is the mouth. So there are different versions of comparisons of a temple to a human body. And among the different agamas, I would like to mention this. The Chidambaram temple, which is really, really close to Dr. Pillai, is the only unique temple that you can find all over the world. It is built based on a scripture called Makuta, the crown of the Agamas. And nowhere else in the world a temple has been built or still worshipped using that Agama. And just because Shiva explained or gave the reasons or gave the source of knowledge to build temples, it is believed that Shiva built all these temples, placed them at the right spot to activate or to maintain the energy of the world and the humans.
So there's these 20 agamas, and each of them, a temple was built based on that agama, or one of the agamas. Is that correct?
Yes.
And literally came from the mouth of Lord Shiva.
Yes.
And from what we saw from the pictures, there's also a science behind it and how it's specifically laid out so that the energy of the god is in different areas of the sacred geometry, which makes up the temple. And it is all very specific, down to how the size and very calculated. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. There are like the temples that Dr. Pillai takes to are built like 1,000 years or more than that before, and during those times, especially the South Indian kings were more into the details of the scriptures. They were strict. They followed the rules and regulations, very strict, and they were built the exact way it was meant to be built. And that is why you can see Babaji takes you to or Dr. Pillai takes you to temples that are old but still worshipped, which you can still feel the energy.
Very powerful. Right.
Yes. As I mentioned before, the name Alayam means the place where the soul is guided towards enlightenment or is actually enlightened. In the earlier days, it is not mentioned in a lot of books who became enlightened where, but there are millions of people who got enlightened at temples, but only because Gautama Buddha was enlightened under a tree, it became so famous that because he was the only person who was not Buddha.
The Buddha, yeah.
The Buddha was not enlightened in a temple, but he was enlightened beneath a tree when he was meditating. He realized his soul and everything, all the meanings, when he was meditating beneath a tree. So people started to imagine or worship that tree as a temple itself, to connect their soul or to realize, the soul knowledge. So
right.
It simply means that temple. It was very normal for people to be enlightened in a temple.
Right.
So it is not just the construction of the temple. Construction of the temple is just a part of it. The place, the people who perform the rituals there, who does the offerings, and the way it is done. So imagine if I'm building a temple using the Agama, the crown of Agamas, the Makuta Agama, I cannot use procedures from another Agama, another scripture to worship there. It is worthless. It wouldn't make any sense. The energy would not be as much as it should be. So still, people use the same agamas in which the temple was built. And
so none of this is random. It is all very specific.
Yes. There is nothing that happens out of people's own imagination. Everything is written, there is a rule, there is a science, and there is a strict rule still followed in all those temples.
Right, which reinforces the power of each of those locations.
Yes. And every 12 years, there is a renovation ritual. It is not just a reconstruction, but it's a renovation ritual. It was a great honor and pleasure for me to do. One of the renovation rituals for Dr. Pillai's native temple, which is the Rakachiyam and located at Rameshwaram. So I did the renovation ritual, and it was very specific. As I mentioned, we planned that for a year, and then he gave us specific details on how to worship, how many pots to keep, how many fire pits to have. So it was very specific, the same way the temples were built in the old times. Right.
Well, thank you so much for joining and enlightening us on this topic. So, speaking of temples, Mohini's been to so many temples. I have too. It's actually a really one of my favorite topics, because coming to India, one of the things, Dr. Pillai wasn't even at my first India trip. It was the going to these temples that was so powerful. And I had no idea of what you're saying, Premraj, of how it was constructed. I was just a Western girl brought to a temple, and I could literally feel changes happening throughout my whole body. So it's good to know there is a science behind it, and it is all very well calculated and preserved for thousands of years. So my next guest, I want to introduce Mike Malloy. Mike, thank you for joining us, and welcome. You have been writing newsletters for AstroVed for a couple years now, and a lot of what you write about is the temples and the offerings where people can participate via proxy or remote to have remedies performed on their behalf. Can you tell us why you've chosen this as one of the primary methods to help people?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me on this hangout. And yes, it's the temples are one of my favorite subjects as well. The reason I write about them is because it works. I personally experienced it, and also the people I hear back from have profound experiences. And the temples are not. When I first came to India and went to the temples, I had an open mind, but I was not expecting what I ran into. I kind of expected it to be like a church experience, and it's nothing like that. It was. I actually came in. I remember coming here going, "How is this kept secret? How is because I felt it." I walked into I've gone into temples and people would say, "Oh, can you feel this?" Or I've been with you, and I don't feel anything. But I went into these temples and I could feel the deities. They were buzzing with energy, and I don't know. Excuse me. I don't have the profound knowledge that Premraja has, but I could experience it. I could experience it as like, this is happening. I remember one of the first deities I looked at was I think it was Parvati, and I just took a quick glance because it was like there was a crowd in front and glance, and it was just this beam of light came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not what I was expecting. And each one is different. Each temple, and you go in. Or I find when I go into the temples, I'd experience a trance just going into the temple. So the power there, and so I have come over time, and this has been now over 10 years, no, actually 14 years of going to different temples, and I have a faith that they work, and I've seen them work for other people. I have seen people have miraculous healing, and going from where they were getting around on crutches to no crutches, just things where but myself also I just had when I've gone I went to one. I used to have a a stutter where I had speech impediment, which would take a lot of was therapy or whatever to learn about. I didn't even think I had one, but it was pointed out, and I went to Mercury and I said, okay, Mercury, I need this taken care of. And we came back, and then some people just said, it's gone. I was like, oh, that's nice. That is a good. So this Mercury temple is amazing. There's also a Mercury temple that I went to actually with Premraja, and there's a Samadhi temple inside. So there's little areas inside, and this Samadhi temple was in there, and we went there during a Mercury festival day. I forget what the festival is. It was packed, and it was thousands of people, and I was like, oh my God, and it was noisy and chaotic, and I walked into this Samadhi temple, and it was like I went into a bubble of silence. It was just walk through the gate. It's not like they had a bubble of silence over this. and it was immediate meditation. So I've gone to the temples and I've experienced Samadhi, and this is just, it is the power of the temple takes you. So I actually recommend people to go to these temples. So it's a life-changing experience, and to go to these temples are also, you have to be invited by the goddess, and by the god or the goddess. The temple itself invites you in. They call you. So it's a gift. It is grace that you get to go to these temples, that you're even hearing about these. I've studied meditation for over 30 years before I found out about this, and I was like, where is this? This is not out there. And it's an open secret.
Right. Yeah. Which is why you write newsletters for AstroVed now, to tell the world about this secret. And what makes AstroVed's offers so different and special?
Well, the secret behind AstroVed's offer is Dr. Pillai.
Mm-hmm.
He makes the remedies work. It's actually, you in Kerala, they honor this. As you go to a Kerala temple and you ask for puja, they will ask you what guru sent you, because it's the guru who backs it up. So it's I liken it. You go to a restaurant, you go to a famous restaurant, 5-star restaurant. It's very different when you go in by yourself or if you go in with the owner.
Or a celebrity or something, right?
Yes. And that's how it is at these temples. It's the deities recognize that you are there with Dr. Pillai's blessings, and they work. So the remedies work. So and the temples have their own power, but when you go in with when you have Dr. Pillai's backing with it, it just takes it to a level that nobody else actually experiences.
Yes.
So it is the grace, and it's actually, I've gone in there and I'm saying, you know what, this is real magic. This is pure magic. You go into a divine realm and you get to play in heaven for a while. So I've done the remedies via proxy, but it's go there in person. It's so much experience. It makes life come alive. And the temples are alive. They are totally alive. And
Well, thank you.
Okay. So I enjoy writing about them. I will continue to write about them. So.
Sorry about that. So Mike, we heard about how kind of Dr. Pillai is really underwriting these temples, and we heard from Premraj on how these temples have been selected, and specifically, Prem, you were saying how the ones that Dr. Pillai empowers and goes to are the ones created by the Agamas, are the ones specifically dictated by Lord Shiva on their location and how they should be conducted. So we're hearing a lot of really powerful things about specific temples in South India and their lineage and really the backing that gives them this excellent and amazing power, which leads us to Rameshwaram.
My favorite topic.
So, Mohini, you have been to Rameshwaram, and you've been bringing people to India for 20 years, and we're doing it again in January, and Dr. Pillai will be going to Rameshwaram, his birthplace. Please tell us your experience and what you know about those temples there. I know we'll be going to several of them.
Well, in order to help people to understand what can happen when you go to Rameshwaram. Now, many of you have been using his techniques on YouTube. A lot of you have had miracles. I travel all over the world. People tell me miracles everywhere about every kind of miracle just from Dr. Pillai's techniques. Now, Dr. Pillai's techniques work because there is a power source behind him. And with every enlightened master, the location where they were born, that's their power vortex. And they chose it for a very divine reason.
Right.
So here Dr. Pillai chose the one place on the face of the earth that it has been decreed. It doesn't matter what kind of problem you bring with you. It doesn't matter what kind of karma. It doesn't matter what kind of sin you've done. If you go to Rameshwaram, it is decreed by Lord Shiva that can be removed from you. And you just have to go and bathe in these 22 wells. So Dr. Pillai very specifically chose this place as his power center because he's here to change karma.
Yes.
And I was speaking with Mike the other day, and he was saying, there's no other place in the world where you can get techniques that will actually change your karma in order to have total life change. So that's the secret behind Rameshwaram. It is Dr. Pillai's power source. So for all of you who have been watching the meditations on YouTube and using them, go to the source. Dr. Pillai is the source, and behind him is this tremendous energy center of Rameshwaram, the one place in the world that pilgrims come from all over in order to dump their worst problems in their karma. And it happens magically. So I've been taking people there, as you said, for 20 years, and when people, even while they're in Rameshwaram, they will pour water over your head, huge buckets of water from 22 wells that have 22 different properties in order to target 22 different kinds of sins. And when people feel that water rushing over them, I've seen people like this in total bliss. They can feel that they are finally being freed of something that they've been carrying around their entire life. And when people come out of the temple, I'm always amazed to see their beauty and the glow around them, and they look like they dropped 20 years. And then the biggest proof is the proof in the pudding, and that's when they go home. They're like, yeah, I went home, I was able to get my dream home. Or all of a sudden, I changed my job, and it's so much better, I'm so happy. I lost my job, but then I found my dream job. So, or like that, people get the miracles after they go to a place like that. So that is the key highlight of Rameshwaram, is this vast Shiva temple where you can remove your most stubborn karmas. There's so many other powerful places in Rameshwaram that Rameshwaram to me is like a mini vortex of the most powerful places on the face of the earth, all in one small island at the southernmost tip of India. That was part of the great stories of India in terms of Rama, where he had to kill demon Ravana. That's where he went to release his sins. So just briefly, some other places, Dr. Pillai's own family temple, as Premraja mentioned, is in Rameshwaram. And again, when you go to the family temple of Dr. Pillai, that is a very special power spot to him. Because in India, your family temple is the place that has empowered your entire family and their lineage. So at his temple, the goddess there is the goddess of manifestation. So after you go and dump all your karma and your problems, you go to, her name is Rakakshi, she's total beauty, and she is the gem of manifestation. So like that, there's other places where you can go to a temple where the feet of Lord Hanuman are there. And people have told me when I took them there, that was one experience where all the people in the temple resoundingly said, we are going to come back to this place again and again and again because it's the greatest bliss on the face of the earth, and we want to actually have a place here so we can live within this purity. So there's temples like that. Then we've been talking about Nambu-Nayaki, and which we only recently discovered, like a year and a half ago. But on the last trip to India, when people sat in front of her, I asked them, ask for an instantaneous healing miracle. And a woman came back and told me that when she started praying to Nambu-Nayaki, she couldn't move. She was totally frozen and immobile. She came with a bad flu. And during that time that she was frozen and immobile, she noticed that the flu was just washed away from her. And then when the ritual ended, then she was able to get up and she was healed and she was thrilled. Well, and then to top it all off, there's another temple where if you pour water over 2 special Shiva lingas, then you can totally change any destiny. Like 100% change. So this is grace, and like Mike said, to be invited. Well, you are invited. And you're invited at the most powerful time to go to Rameshwaram, and that is the birthday of Dr. Pillai at his own power source, where he himself will take you to those places. He's underwriting all those rituals. You're at the right place at the right time. Dr. Pillai is going to make everything happen. In fact, on the last birthday trip to India, I was in another location and I couldn't be on that trip. And people came back, they were weeping. They were all weeping.
It was incredible.
Yeah. And they all knew that a very momentous, grand change had happened. And then later I heard their stories and they did go back to New Brides. So when I asked Dr. Pillai this year, where's the #1 place you want to be this birthday? He immediately said, Rameshwaram. So that's why we're going. I'm personally very excited about this because Dr. Pillai has been talking about how this is a monumental time in his life where he's finally going to give the most precious and secret teachings of enlightenment. So at his power source, at the right time, on his birthday, when he can actually transmit the highest blessings. So that is the place that if you feel the calling, which I'm sure you do, then it's just how to follow that call and find yourself there.
And he will be at those locations with us. He doesn't just sit back during
right.
those trips. And that he sits there, and not sits there, but he's there while everyone goes up and makes offerings or does their prayers. He's present and he's observing and he's empowering and he's changing destinies. So it's always just pure magic because that doesn't happen ever anywhere else throughout the year ever. So
and then what people told me about that trip too is that so many of them had an opportunity just to approach him and ask him for a special blessing. And because it was his birthplace and they felt like they were just walking along the sea and bliss with Dr. Pillai, they would ask him, can you please help me? He would immediately promise. They just felt like, you know, the greatest blessing was totally dropped in their lap because they had a chance to talk to Dr. Pillai.
Which you never get, and people always ask us.
Right.
You know that. How do I get a message to him? I said, well, come to an event. That's really the only way. In a person, he makes himself available, which is very gracious. So yes, that is the power of the birthday trip, and we will be going to Rameshwaram. We will also be going to Kumbakonam. So when we asked Dr. Pillai about this trip and asked for, you know, where to go, he said those two locations, Rameshwaram and Kumbakonam. Kumbakonam is one of his favorite places in South India to go because it is a collection of very powerful temples. And Premraj is going to tell us a little bit more about Kumbakonam and why it's so powerful. First, just a brief introduction. We're going to go from Rameshwaram and then drive up to Kumbakonam. And the reason being, when I asked Dr. Pillai why Kumbakonam, he said, because of the temples. I want them to go to the temples. So Premraj, if you could tell us a little bit more about what's that power? And what is it, hundreds of temples there? There's a lot of temples. And to what you said earlier about these specific, very powerful temples dictated by the agamas, what is the significance of that area?
Well, as you mentioned, what is Athens to Greek mythology or Greek gods is what Rameshwaram is for Dr. Pillai. You know, I can feel the capital or the energy source of him and his power there so much visible. And it's an amazing place. And next to that is Kumbakonam. He always prefers Kumbakonam, a special place because of the temples, as you mentioned. And there is a myth. There's a story behind that. Is when there was a huge catastrophe that was happening in the whole world, Lord Brahma, the creator, what he did was he collected all the source of knowledge and divinity, and then he put that on a pot. And the pot was washed away in the flood. And the pot stopped at a specific place. It took a halt at a specific place, and that was Kumbakonam. So, on the request of all the gods, Shiva came in there in the form of a hunter, and then he shot the pot down, and the whole source of knowledge flowed through that specific place, Kumbakonam. So that is the reason for all different various temples filled with various powers of various deities present in that specific place. And also it is the reason why they have the 9 planet temples. As you can see, the 9 planet temples are located all around Kumbakonam. It's like within like 100 kilometers of Kumbakonam, within 100-kilometer radius of Kumbakonam, which is like, people used to ask me, like, you know, why is this, and why are the remedies mostly at Kumbakonam, and why not anywhere else, even not in Chennai? You know, it's mostly at Kumbakonam. Why is that? Because one reason is that Dr. Pillai strictly wants to stick with those real energy sources, and also it is that with his power behind that, it is easy to get the blessings of the deities and to be answered, and for your prayers to come true, for your dreams to come true. These are specific power spots, as you can. It's the right word. You can see that being written in many articles, but it's the right word, power spot, which is the energy source or the exact spot where the energy is, the power is. It is designed, it is constructed, it is worshipped in a way where the energy source can also accept your karma and give you back blessings. So these are power spots, energy vortexes at specific places. As Michael said, with the energy, with the blessing of your guru, it's immense, it's powerful. And I would gladly say that Kumbakonam is my birthplace. I was born in Kumbakonam. I was there, and I've been to most of the temples. It's personally, I would say, like, it's close to my heart because of its divinity. I was restricted at many temples because of my sacred thread and stuff. But then I get to know, even though being a Brahmin priest, you're not allowed into a temple just like that. The rules are very strict. They still follow that. And just because of the perseverance, the way the people preserve the temple, it remains, the energy remains there. It's still there. It's powerful, and you can actually feel it.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. So we also know that each temple has its own power, and we will be visiting many different temples in Kumbakonam. So thank you, Mohini, for joining. Thank you, Premraj, for joining. And thank you, Mike. I know you had to jump off. And is there anything else you want to leave our friends in passing?
Well, I recommend people, if you just want to have a taste of what it is to be at that totally pure and life-changing vortex, then you can follow that meditation, and you will definitely be able to travel there. Now, to bring your body there, even better, because the body is karma. Yeah. The body holds your karma. Mm-hmm. So for everyone who's been following Dr. Pillai's teachings, watching his videos, if you want to take like a big step in order to totally change your life, if you just put yourself inside those temple vortexes, you don't even have to think of what you want or what you need to change, but the vortex does it for you. Yep. So to me, it's the simple path, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I can't emphasize this enough that in the very beginning of my studies with Dr. Pillai, he said, go to India. He said, do a Nadi reading and go to India. And when I did, that changed my whole life completely. And that was just the beginning. And I really attribute it to being able to set foot into these power sources. And like I said, I was just a very newbie type of girl from the United States, and I just walked in because they told me to, and everything changed. Everything changed. So you don't have to know anything. It's pure magic and science, as we've heard too. So we encourage you to take that leap if that's something that you are able to do, and do join us on this trip. And if you have any questions, please let us know, and do tune in to Mohini's YouTube video to get a preliminary astral travel to Rameshwaram and bathe in the wells and start shifting your karma now. That's what this is all about, giving you bits of transformation to start on your path as soon as possible. Don't wait. Thank you, Mohini, for joining, and thank you everyone else for tuning in. Until next time, we will you'll be hearing more about the series and how you can continue to learn about the path of the masters through the spiritual motherland. Namaste.